and thank you so much for doing this interview with us today.
Thank you.
So thank you to everyone else who is joining us live. My name is Liz Johns, and I am the Teaching and Learning Librarian, and today I'm interviewing Anya Schwartz. Anya has won the honorable mention in the junior senior category for the Julia Rogers Research Prize. Now, the Julia Rogers Research Prize is an annual research prize competition run through the library for outstanding research by Goucher students using library resources. Anya's entry is titled Relationship Building as a Means to Navigating Genre in the Writing Center. Now, this project was initially created for Writing 221 Honors, Theories and Practice in Composing, Tutoring, and Teaching, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Anya, for being with us today. We're so glad that you're willing to talk to us and share information about your project, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so our first question, could you just describe the project for us?
Yeah, so the class 221H is the introductory class to working at the Writing Center as a writing tutor. So we focus a lot about like the history of tutoring and writing pedagogy, and also how to best address the needs of different types of tutees. So our final assignment was to kind of develop our own research project. And for mine, I really wanted to talk about whether or not tutors in our writing center had developed particular writing strategies when they tutored specific genres.
Okay.
So I developed a survey, and I used that survey to talk to our current tutors about what strategies they use and if they had particular strategies that they liked using with certain genres. And I ended up finding that they didn't, that they found that there were not really strategies that lended themselves to certain genres because the genre itself doesn't really matter that much to a tutoring session. What matters much more is the relationship and the empathy aspect between the tutor and their tutee. So that was like a really interesting finding for me, to find that my research highlighted something I didn't really expect at all.
Yeah, it's always fun when you do a project and it doesn't turn out the way you expected, but in a good way, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I think you touched on this a little bit already, but did you have any particular inspiration for this project?
Yeah, so the project was written for this course, and I think one of the things kind of that I was most excited about and that I was most nervous about in becoming a tutor was working with Goucher students on different projects from different disciplines. And that's something I think our writing center does really well, is inviting students to come work with us for all different types of projects from any class. And I am a creative writing major, so I was really nervous to work with students, especially from STEM disciplines. So I kind of wanted to use this project not only to like expand our knowledge of how our center is being used, but also kind of address my own concerns about becoming a tutor.
That's great.
Yeah, so that was like my inspiration in the project.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So when you were working on this project, did you encounter any challenges?
I think I kind of touched on this, but I did have to change my kind of whole perspective once I had done the survey. I had the initial hypothesis that like the tutors would have specific strategies that they knew worked for each genre. And as I said, I ended up finding that that wasn't the case at all, that the tutors were more likely to adjust their tutoring strategy based on the tutee themselves rather than the genres they were writing. And that kind of, there's a whole field of research in writing studies called genre studies. So like I was doing a lot of research into genre studies and looking at like different pedagogy theory, and kind of coming to that conclusion that that's not how our center was running was simultaneously really scary, because I didn't really have any research in that area about empathy and how empathy affects tutoring. But it was also really exciting because I think both for me as a tutor, it was encouraging, and also for Lena as our program director and the director of the Writing Center, to like know that that's how our tutors were having relationships with tutees was really inspiring.
Yeah, the relationship aspect of that sounds like it was a core focus of what you guys do in the Writing Center.
Yeah.
So that's really great that you got to find that and kind of confirm that and affirm that in your work and through this project. So while you were working on this, part of the prize is because you use library resources. So how has the library made a difference in your time at Goucher, either in this project or even more broadly?
I love the library so much. Specifically in this project, I did a lot of background research about the literature that exists on this topic. And the library online databases were indispensable to that. I was using research methods every day working on this essay, and then I went through a second round of revisions afterwards in which I had to go back and find more research, and that was really helpful to kind of do those advanced searches to make sure I was getting exactly what I needed. I also work in the library probably every single day, both as a writing tutor, literally our space is there, so I'm physically there, and also I love the info comms and going upstairs to the little individual desks to work by myself. Those two spaces, I love working in the Learning Commons and seeing who goes by to use the printers, but sometimes that can be really distracting. So when I want to get work done, I go up and go to one of the quiet floors and work in a little cubby.
In a little cubby. Okay. Do you have a particular spot that you really love?
I love working along the windows, but I don't really care where.
Okay. You don't care where, as long as you have some windows, some light. Yeah. That is one of the nice things about the library is all of the windows, all of the natural light coming in, plenty of space for you to get that.
I do find that I have to sit facing Welsh, though. I can't sit the other way. It feels weird.
Does it feel like you're backwards?
Yeah.
Yeah. like on a train or a subway?
Yeah.
Backwards.
I don't know why, but...
You're not the first person who I've heard say that, so I
good.
Get it. I do actually like sitting backwards on trains, though. I think it's really fun, but I can understand not wanting to do that for sure. So that's interesting. So what is, as you were working on this project, did you encounter any new resources, or did you have a go-to resource that you thought that ended up being your favorite from the library?
Mostly I used a lot of JSTOR, but JSTOR is usually my go-to database because I'm a humanities major. I also ended up using the Writing Center Pedagogy in America has a writing lab database, which I ended up using a lot. I'm not quite sure if that's through our library, but I definitely used it a lot.
Okay. It's a resource that you used. All right.
Yeah, those are probably what I went to the most for my research. And I also did a lot of in-person conversations and stuff with the Goucher tutors.
Okay. Right, because you kind of did a study, right? You did your survey, you collected data, you analyzed the data. So this paper was a little bit more focused on that kind of methodology rather than a literature review kind of paper, right?
Yeah, I did have a literature review section, but that was only a small part of my overall paper.
Okay. Yeah, that happens. So thinking about your process and how you went through this project, what advice would you give to anyone who is thinking about applying for the Julia Rogers Research Prize next year?
I would say, first of all, for any essay you're writing ever, find a topic that genuinely excites you, because then the research becomes way more fun. For me, I was really passionate about this project, and I was really curious to read all the research that I could. So my time using library resources was spent having a really good time, and it was really fun for me. So I would definitely say find something you're passionate and curious about genuinely. I would also say don't think too hard about what your initial perspective is, because obviously it might change. And be open to that change and open to seeing new perspectives and finding new theories that don't necessarily support what you believe, because what you end up believing might be something completely different, but in a good way.
Right, right, great. Yeah, I think that that's similar to what Andres was saying yesterday about finding something passionate that you're interested in. Um, I'm curious. You took this class because you're a writing center tutor. What
Mm-hmm.
was the inspiration for you to becoming a writing center tutor?
I love talking about writing so much, and I really wanted to interact with students in that way. I have been an SI before for the intro calculus class, and I really loved being almost like a mentor for other students, but like in a very non-hierarchical peer to peer way. And I also knew that Lena's class, the 221H, is deeply focused around like theory, and I had never really taken like a writing studies or like theory class, so I really wanted to do that, and that was really a great class that I took. I really liked it.
Oh, good. That's great to hear. It's always nice to hear when students love classes. I think that they're a great class because I think that's one of the great things about college is getting excited about for your paper that ended up winning you a prize. So that's really great. Is there anything else you would like to share with us today, either about the prize, about your project, about the library, before we wrap up?
I guess I just want to plug the library and the Goucher College Writing Center. We are doing tutoring online. We have open tutoring hours today from 4 to 8, and the library is here for us even when we're not physically at Goucher right now. So I want to thank you as a librarian for that. Thank you, Lena, for keeping the Writing Center open. Thank you to all the students who work in the library and at the Writing Center. Everyone's amazing.
And yeah, the library, librarians are available online as well, just like the Writing Center tutors. So I know it's tough for everyone right now, that you as a tutor, us at the library, all the students trying to connect with everyone online. So we're all here. I'm glad you guys are doing that too. And thank you again so much for being willing to interview. This is a little different for us. Instagram interviews are new for the library. So thanks for joining in and testing this out with us. And thank you to everyone who is joining us live.